It's kind of how I view wide receivers. Begging for change. They're begging for change. They're a dime a dozen, in my opinion. Listen to this song. I love it. Anyway, we're talking my favorite wide receivers in Michigan history, and I've only been around since 1990, so I've only watched a few of these people live, but I can go back in time and watch on YouTube some film of these wide receivers. What is your favorite wide receiver in Michigan history? Let me know. Mine is Desmond Howard, of course. In 1991, Michigan went 10-1 and won the Big Ten. I was 1 year old at the time, like I said, but Desmond Howard, Michigan Heisman winners may never happen again at wide receiver. This guy is known for the catch on 4th down versus Notre Dame, of course, from Gerbach. And that went for a diving touchdown in the back of the end zone. You remember that one? We all do. It's actually known as the catch. The catch. Also, his most memorable moment that everyone knows is his punt return touchdown versus Ohio State, where Keith Jackson, the commentator, Michigan commentator, said, "Hello, Heisman," as he struck the pose in the end zone, and he actually won that. Hello, Heisman. It was a memorable moment for all of us as we look back on it, but he actually won that Heisman. Desmond was flashy as hell, too. That was awesome. He was fast as hell as well. He set or tied 5 different NCAA records at the time when he was playing. And in 1991, he had 61 catches for 960 yards, a 15.6 average, and 19 receiving touchdowns. He also had 12 carries for 165 yards, a 13.8 average, and 2 touchdowns. That's why he won the Heisman. In the return game, he averaged, in the punt return game, 15.3 yards in that crucial touchdown versus Ohio State. And he averaged 31 yards on kickoff returns with another touchdown. So this guy was a beast. He earned degrees, multiple, as a junior at Michigan. So he was smart as well and became a Super Bowl MVP. Not to mention, in that 1991 season, he won the Biletnikoff and Maxwell as well. This guy was a beast. Number 1, in my opinion. All right, number 2, Braylon Edwards. Listen, I got to watch Braylon Edwards, and in 2004, he was a dominant player, but he had 3 1,000-yard seasons, culminating in 97 receptions for 1,330 yards in 2004, with a 13.7 average, 15 receiving touchdowns, and in my memory, him toying with Michigan State, I will never forget that. The overtimes, the 3 overtime game where Braylon had 11 catches in that game, but 189 yards, 17.2 average. These were catches that were misplaced by Chad Henne sometimes, but he had miraculous catches in those games. 3 touchdowns, and he ran for 22 yards one time as well in that game. The triple overtime game at night versus Michigan State. The one where, he had a lot where he had to catch and dive, but the one where he just reached over the guy's head, kind of like what Roman Wilson did earlier this season for Michigan. But Braylon Edwards was a beast. Tough, physical, he could catch with his hands, and he caught that ball over that Michigan State defender. Do you remember that? Let me know in the comments, man. The thing is that Michigan rarely relies on a wide receiver. Relies on wide receiver. Because they run a balanced program, and that means after those two, I struggle to name my favorite next three. But there's plenty of wide receivers throughout history. The number one is something that is revered in Michigan football history. And I'm going to name honorable mentions, but I'm going top five here. My top five favorites. What are your top five? My number three will surprise some people maybe, but it's Mario Manningham. I actually got to see him play. He beat Penn State with no time left. Time was expiring, and he had that touchdown in 2005, and that was an epic moment that I remember. He never got to Desmond or Braylon status, but nevertheless, he had seasons of 433 yards and 6 touchdowns, 703 yards and 9 touchdowns, 1,174 yards and 12 touchdowns. And after an injury and coming back, Mario justifiably went pro early after his junior season. There was no one more year fund at the time, so we couldn't just pay the guy to come back. He left, but man, if we had that, 2006 could have been a lot different. That guy was a beast. All right, number 4 might surprise some people as well on my list. Jeremy Gallon. Gallon played in a time where Michigan lost its way a little bit during the dark ages, but he still managed to put up yards for us. All he did was have 453 yards, 829 yards, and 1,373 yards in his last season. In consecutive seasons, that's what he did. He was a quarterback before he came to Michigan. On 89 catches in 2013, he had 1,373 yards, 15.4 average, and 9 touchdowns. That's a bit low, but he was the bailout in the game versus Notre Dame, the first Michigan game under the lights in 2011 as a freshman. The 1 minute and 22 second game, if you all remember. First Notre Dame, I remember most. He had 8 catches is all, but 184 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he got open. Denard just threw it up to him that one time across the middle, remember that, and that was the difference. This guy also had a game where he had 369 receiving in one game, a Big Ten Conference record for Michigan. It was versus Indiana, but still. This guy helped Denard and the actual, we were down there in the dark age with Rich Rod and Brady Hope, but this guy was a shining example that I saw during that period. And of course, number 5 has to be Anthony Carter. He's got to be on your list somewhere. Watching film from the old days, he seems like he could toe tap defenses. And then that catch that's on the intro of Michigan Podcast every week, where he catches the ball in stride like Auburn kind of did a few years ago, but Anthony Carter was the original of that. He just kept running, the ball tipped to him, bam, touchdown. He's an athletic freak. I haven't been around long enough to see him live at Michigan, just like our number one guy, Desmond Howard. But I have watched the film, and he's a baller. MVP of the Big Ten and a three-time All-American, unanimous in his last season. Carter had 36 touchdowns, 30 in his career. 33 were receiving touchdowns. He broke Tom Harmon's point record at Michigan, which is unbelievable. Tom Harmon had 237. Anthony Carter had 240, so he beat it by 3 points. And he was only playing one position. Tom Harmon scored points in all different positions, but so there's a difference there. But he won the Big Ten twice, and he won a Rose Bowl for the University of Michigan. So, like I said, it's been a while since we've had like a really great, but I'm going to give you some honorable mentions here. And I'm going to tell you why it's getting harder and why we haven't had a really great in a long time. It's getting harder and harder for a wide receiver to be great in stats at the University of Michigan, because it takes a great quarterback throwing to them first and foremost, which we tend to be conservative in that category. But it also takes an offensive line that can't punish people, that cannot move the ball in the run game. Which, if people could stop that, it would force more passing for Michigan. But it's getting harder and harder for people to do that nowadays. So wide receivers, a dime a dozen, but honorable mentions, we got Amara Darboh, of course, I remember him. Jehu Chesson were in the same, the first year. Jake Rudock was thrown to him under Jim Harbaugh in his first season. Cornelius Johnson and Ronnie Bell recently under Harbaugh, but Roman Wilson. And then you have DPJ, Nico, and Tariq Black that were kind of wasted with their talent. They were uber talented, kind of wasted in our system at the time. Didn't have a quarterback, didn't have a punishing run game. We need people to stop our run game for wide receivers to be effective. Just saying. That's what it is. But Ty Street, Steve Breston, Jason Avant, Amani Toomer, David Terrell, Marquise Walker, Derek Alexander, John Colasar, Adrian Arrington, all go down the list. There's older ones, more of them. And someone said Michigan was wide receiver U. I don't know how that can be when we don't ever use them properly and they don't ever have the most stats in the nation, except for Desmond Howard, who won the Heisman. So, what's your guy? What do you? Let me know anything in the comments. What are you thinking about what I said here today? It's pertaining to Michigan offensive philosophy and all that stuff. I'd like to hear what you guys think down below. Is Orji going to be the guy to get wide receivers the ball this season? Because we have some great ones. Colson Loveland at tight end is not a wide receiver. I did not mention any tight ends here in this video. So, but we have Tyler Morris. We have Samaj Morgan. We have others. Can they step up, and can Alex Orji get them the ball? And will he have to get them the ball? Will opposing defenses stop our ground attack enough? Thanks, everyone. Like the video. Share with other people out there on social media if you can. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. Have a great day. Just remember to have a great day or night. And go blue. That's all we can do. Go blue, baby.